What are the different types of trade unions? Generally, they have craft and occupational unions, the industrial unions, and general unions. What do we mean by craft unions is that one particular type of job or skill category are picked and they are members of a union. People forming one particular type of skills, they are taken, let's say craftsmen, or say for example people working in a particular department, they are taken into unions. They represent the ideas and they defend the benefits of this particular union. Industrial unions, they belong to a particular industry. Workers from a particular industry are taken as members. Now, general unions do not classify into white collar, blue collar. Workers across the industry and across different industries are taken into general unions. Let us take a look at the following examples, where in Germany, one trade union represents all organized employees. In Japan, unions are mostly organized by employer or it's by establishment. And in France, general unions are based mostly on politico-religious lines. Now, who are the trade union representatives who are involved in the day-to-day affairs of the trade union? They can be full-time paid officials looking into the legal, financial and administrative aspects of the job, or part-time voluntary officials at the branch levels wherein they have a limited role, and workplace representatives, those appointed by the employers themselves on a full-time basis to look after the employee issues. Now, what are the sources of trade union power? How do they gather such strength and momentum? What is the source of their power? Now, the degree of support. What is the degree of support that a particular trade union enjoys with the labor force? What is the numbers that is involved? How much respect do they command a particular segment of the industry in a particular region? Now, what is the perceived success or failure? What is the level of success? What was the history of this particular trade union? Have they achieved something like better for the workforce? What is the set of benefits that they have achieved for the workers in the previous disputes, and what is that they brought about in taking the relationship forward? The bargaining environment depends on the employer's HRM policy. Again, the power of trade union depends on HRM policy of a particular employer. Now, wherein the policy is weak, trade unions gain an upper hand. They can fight for more rights, wherein employers who have better HRM policies, the scope is restricted because the employer themselves are sensitive to the needs of the workforce. They provide better benefits. So again, the local labor markets, when the unemployment rates are high, the power of labor union is not so good or high, because in the absence of jobs you don't really have anything to bargain for. So the power again derives from these aspects of employers' HRM policy and the local labor markets. And what is the culture of the union? What was its history in the broader perspective? How do they go about doing their jobs? Now, these are the sources of trade union power. Now, let us take a look at an ad wherein a trade union is pitching for membership, what they can do for a member in a scenario which affects the rights of a worker.
If you were to have a dispute with your boss, he or she would probably call the HR department, and, if necessary, HR might bring in the company lawyers. If the dispute became really serious, they might even contact the group's international law firm, or call in outside experts and consultants. This is the same boss who often says that you, as an employee, are far better off representing yourself. Do you want to even out the odds?
Trade union recognition can be automatic or voluntary depending on the number of members involved and the share of membership and what is the say that they have. So it can be split into voluntary and automatic recognition. Now, what is the ideological framework behind trade unions? That unitary ideology which states that the needs and the goals of the employer and labor workforce is one. Pluralist ideology states that these are two different ends of the spectrum and you need to strike a balance. And radical ideology is something that workers are always exploited by the management and it needs to strive for their benefits. So these are the three different types of ideology involved. And when it comes to different stakeholder interests, it is often said that it is always a trade-off between the different stakeholders, what an employer wants and what the management wants versus what the customers want and versus what the trade union wants. So different wants are clubbed together, and what is the best benefit for all involved, what is the maximum which can be done in a particular scenario, gives you different stakeholder interests. Now, why do we need to go for cooperation? Cooperation is an approach because it has a rational appeal in which you get solutions. It's a win-win situation. It's called rational because you get a benefit out of this approach, problems are solved, and it has an emotional appeal. Cooperation gives you an avenue to resolve your disputes so that you can move forward, and cooperation is a common cultural value cluster, which means that cooperation is considered as a core value. For example, in Japanese or Swedish industries, you have team working and high level of interdependence of work groups. It's a key value which defines their working styles. So cooperation defines your success. Now, what are the 4 possible orientations? It was defined on these dimensions, wherein you have HRM and IR, organizations which have high HRM and high IR orientations. So the first is the new realism, wherein organization has an orientation towards high HRM and high IR practices. These are valued, and employee is at the top of all the decisions, so it fits into the new realism quadrant. Then we have the traditional collectivism, wherein you have high IR and low HRM practices. Third is the individualized HRM, where high HRM and low IR is the style, and the black hole, wherein there is no regard for HRM practices or IR practices. So obviously there cannot be any benefit or results which can be expected from this kind of organization, wherein you have low orientation towards HRM practices and IR practices. So these are the 4 possible orientations of HRM and industrial relations mix. What are the approaches to industrial relations? First is the adversarial, where the employer calls the shots. Employees are expected to fit the bill. There is no option for them. They have to just follow the command and the order of the employer. And when it comes to traditional, there is a good day-to-day working relationship, but ultimately employer has the final say in the affairs of managing the different issues. Now, partnership. Now, there is a healthy relationship. Feedback is obtained, but still employer takes the final decisions. And power sharing is the ultimate form, wherein decisions are taken by the employer in consultation with the employees. There is power sharing, wherein employees have a say in issues which affects them. Let's define employee relations. It consists of all those areas of HRM that involve general relationships with the employees through collective agreements, where trade unions are recognized, and through commonly applied policies for employee involvement and communications. So this is a broad definition of employee relations, and it has developed over the years from your traditional concept of industrial relations. It is a shift in approach to the term employee relations. Now, what are the objectives of employee relations? To give a summary of the entire chapter: to build stable and cooperative relationships with employees, which defines your success in the business environment. Achieve commitment through employee involvement. What happens ultimately is you achieve commitment of employees through their empowerment and involvement, and when you develop mutuality, you tend to have better job satisfaction and you have high morale levels, and what as a business you get is success, which helps you to compete in a tight business environment. Thank you.